Dear Mother, we have now been here under fire for almost 3 weeks. We were shelled while being landed in the torpedo boat. The landing beach is constantly being shelled. And we have been bombed, sniped, etc. practically ever since. There was a 9-hour armistice last Monday to bury dead, which were lying between the trenches and stinking us out.
Dearest Mother and boys and doll, there won't be much left after the war is over. We have all decided to secure a husband while we are over here, as the boys will be so few and such heroes. I do think it is a shame they have to go and put up with all this for the sake of the war.
I am 15 years of age. To the front I want to go, if I
To see
can.
the necessity of being at all times prepared for death.
Here's to the time when the war is all over.
We must so live that death will not be a terror to us.
19th of September.
1862.
1914.
1915.
1915.
Dear men, my 1-year-old son brought cold from the Kita, and now we all have the cold. So we keep him at home and try to stay away from people. Who knows about anything in these crazy times? I don't want to expose you and carry Kita's virus around, so let's cancel tonight's event. We also need to see if we are allowed to gather in the future according to the new lockdown rules. I will miss you. Sitting at home and wiping my son's nose every 5 minutes is no fun. Stay safe and hope to see you soon. 29th of October, 2020. And that's where we are today. We have gone from staring certain death in the face to being mortally scared of the sniffles. I know, you're not worried about yourself. You're worried about spreading it to those at high risk, which is why you stay home, avoid people, and wear a mask. I don't really watch TV, but government propaganda is unavoidable. I found out about these government-funded ads, which have been running for a while now, glorifying couch potatoes. Couch potatoes are heroes now. I believe that all of us have a bit of a hero complex. Let's face it, who wouldn't want to be held as a hero? And guess what? I can finally be a hero by doing absolutely nothing.
In order for evil to prevail, good men must do nothing.
There's some debate as to who said that, but that shouldn't matter. The point still stands, because we are doing nothing. I have no hard feelings toward these men. The only problem I see is that they're coming from a place of fear rather than a place of rationale. To make matters worse, they're scared simply because they're told to be scared. If they were coming from a place of fear of their own volition, that would be a different matter. I like to scroll through comments on social media every once in a while. Well, maybe a bit more than once in a while. And not too long ago, I saw a post regarding people meeting in groups. And there was a comment that said, "You wouldn't drive a car off a cliff, so why would you meet with a group of people?" It takes only the bare minimum of common sense to know that the former will almost always lead to certain death, while the latter will rarely, if ever, lead to anything harmful, let alone death. It's like we're all living in the movie The Village. No one must go beyond the woods, but the masses don't really know why. There was an experiment done where researchers put a bunch of rats in a cage, and inside the cage there's a ladder which leads to a button. One of the rats goes up the ladder and presses his button, which shocks all the rats on the floor of the cage. From then on, whenever a rat tries to go up the ladder, the other rats will attack him. Later, the researchers replace one of the rats with a new rat, and soon enough, the new rat tries to go up the ladder, but is attacked by all the other rats. Then, a second new rat is brought in, and of course, he tries to do the same to go up the ladder, and is attacked by all the other rats, including the first new rat, who never experienced the shock and has no idea what that button does at the top of the ladder. Gradually, the researchers replace all the rats one by one until not a single rat from the original group is left in the cage. So now, whenever a new rat is brought in and he tries to go up the ladder, all the other rats will attack him, but they don't really know why. They've just been conditioned that anyone who tries to go up the ladder should be stopped. I believe we're in a similar situation. A new generation of children is growing up with people around them wearing masks. And to them, not having a mask will seem abnormal. Soon enough, we won't even have to explain to them why the masks. They'll just accept it as a part of life. If the powers that be told us tomorrow that we no longer have to be worried about so-and-so, our fear would suddenly dissipate. Letting anyone have that kind of control over you is worse than someone having physical control over you. Controlling someone physically can be costly, as you still have to take care of them and provide shelter. prisons cost money. Control someone's mind and you basically have a free slave doing your bidding. By free slave, I mean that it doesn't cost you anything. Essentially a prisoner who willingly pays rent, utilities, and feeds himself or herself. Some years ago, I stumbled upon Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. I would strongly recommend it, not just to improve communication with other people, but mainly to improve communication with that voice inside your head. I listened to a lot of Marshall's lectures online and read his book. Unfortunately, over time, I forgot a lot of it, but there were a few key points that stuck with me to this day. In one of his lectures, Marshall talks about a sketch from a book by Charles Silverstein, where two men are tied up and one of them says,
"Now, here's my plan."
These men, despite being physically shackled to a wall with no chance of escape, are still free in their minds. What we have now is the complete opposite. We are physically free, but our minds are imprisoned. There's no armed guard standing outside our home, preventing us from going outside. There's no armed guard inside supermarkets and restaurants, threatening us with physical violence if we don't put on our masks. We have taken it upon ourselves to enforce these mandates. I want to believe that at least half the people disagree with what's clearly being pushed as the mainstream view. But I think I'm not just being overly optimistic, but blatantly unrealistic. I have gone into supermarkets and shops several times without a mask, just to test the waters. The employees are too busy working to notice. Most customers don't really care. I may get a look or two from a customer, but that's about it. And of course, eventually an employee will say something. I once heard the phrase, the silent majority, but I don't know if there is such a thing. Maybe majority of people do disagree with what's clearly being pushed as the mainstream view, but don't voice their opinion out of fear of being ostracized from their social circle, or worse, losing their livelihood. I actually met with the man who wrote that email, the one from October of 2020. It turns out he doesn't think like that at all. He completely disagrees with what's being pushed as the mainstream view. So why did he write that? I can't say, but maybe he was worried that people might view him as a nutcase if he had expressed how he really feels.
A time is coming when men will go mad, and when they see someone who is not mad, they will attack him, saying, "You are mad. You are not like us."
That's how a lot of people look at you today if you don't wear a mask, as if you've gone mad. We used to be able to differentiate between a healthy person and a sick person, for the most part, but now we're told that anyone can be sick. A healthy-looking athlete can be just as dangerous to public health as an obese chain smoker. Yes, a healthy-looking person could be sick, maybe even have a serious illness, but that's the exception, not the rule. We have decided to make the exception the rule, just in case. In case of what exactly? In case we might die? Your chances of dying go up by 100% the moment you're conceived. The constant argument I hear is, we don't know the long-term health effects. So what's the plan then? Imprison ourselves for a lifetime until we know the long-term health effects? Life itself is a long-term health effect. I put these restrictions on myself and even asked that my loved ones do the same long before any government ever did. When I tell this to people now, they look at me like I have two heads. I'm not going to speculate on the reasons behind their reactions. I changed my views based mainly on my own observations. After a whole year, whenever this topic comes up, people's primary source of information is this. I get it. I am way too dependent on this thing myself. I mean, I literally have the entire script for this video right here. But at some point, you have to pause and see with your own eyes that it's not raining outside, even if the weather app says it is. Chances are, most people who watch this will disagree with me, and that's fine. You can also let me know in the comments why you disagree with me. However, I want you to ask yourself one thing. Where would we be today had we all taken matters into our own hands to protect our health from the very beginning? I lied. There's one more question I want you to ask yourself. Where would all the politicians be making these mandates had we all taken matters into our own hands from the very start?
We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. You want to live, but do you know how to live? You are scared of dying, and tell me, is the kind of life you lead really any different from being dead?
Security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature, nor do the children of men as a whole experience it. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing.
Let me know in the comments if you think you know who said that. I'll give you a hint. It was a woman. Subscribe if you'd like to see more stuff like this, or videos on completely different topics. Maybe I'll do something on minimalism soon. Give the video a thumbs up if you agree, thumbs down if you disagree, or neither if you feel neutral about it. Leave a comment if you want, or not. Do whatever you want. Mandates aren't really my thing.